Hey there. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a great new radio show on Para X. 2 hosts, 1 hour, and too much fun. Stephanie and Heidi not only talk about the latest goings-on in the supernatural worlds, they live it. They want to hear from you. They want to help you understand and guide you. And they want you to tune in. So, grab a friend or come alone to gather around that metaphysical table with Heidi and Stephanie. If you're interested in the worlds of the unseen, tune in to the Gathering Radio Show, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Para X Radio.
So it's on, so whenever you want to start talking.
Hi, this is Krista Cesare from the C2D1 Haunting. You're listening to The Shadows.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Welcome to another Monday night here on the Shadows Radio. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Cara.
And there are dancing pumpkins in the Para X chat room.
There is. Oh,
yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but there are dancing pumpkins happening.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, so I tuned into the Odyssey Files right before our show, and they were talking about dreams, and now all I can remember is a stupid dream I had where I was chased by a giant bunny through a forest of trees made of socks.
Oh, okay.
And I had that dream. Well, let me put it this way. I had that dream like 4 years in a row. Like, I didn't just have that dream one time and it stuck with me. No, I had that dream again and again and again and again.
Wow.
So now I'm probably going to have that dream tonight. Thank you, Mike, from the Odyssey Files. Thank you so much for that.
Wow, we need to get that figured out, what the heck that means.
I had somebody dream analyze it, and it never made sense, because depending on who was dream analyzing it, it meant something different.
Oh, yeah. I get you.
Yeah. So welcome, everybody, back to the Shadows Radio. All that fun stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. You can find us on iTunes, Podomatic, Podbean, etc., etc., etc. And a big shout-out and a thank you to everybody who came out to the Horror at the Fort this weekend.
Yay!
Mifflin. T. Fox Dunham from What Are You Afraid Of? The girls from Spirited History were there. Eric B. from Dark Sun Rising was there. And there was an incredible crowd who had a great time, and it was a lot of fun. So
there was a good crowd for the readings in
there was
one
an
too.
Excellent crowd. If you follow What Are You Afraid Of podcast on any of their social media, they've been putting up some pictures and some video of some of the readings, and there was a great crowd for that. So It was excellent. So good. Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic.
We love you all. It was my daughter's 3rd birthday, so I had a house full of in-laws. So I was only there for a part of the day, but it was pretty excellent.
Awesome. Well,
found some ghosties or something, so I heard. So
they did. Oh, well, that's good.
Maybe in the future we'll do a recappy show and play some evidence.
A recappy show. I like that.
Well, yeah. Okay.
And anywho,
so tonight's show is all about you.
No, it's not.
Well,
it's not about Cara. We're not talking about me.
Well, we're not talking about you, but I did it for you.
I know, you're so thoughtful.
Well, that was the last time we did a show or whatever. I forget how it came up, but you were like, I need to live in Scotland or something like that, right? I forget exactly what you said, but it was something along the lines of Cara's leaving the world for Scotland. So I was like, you know what? That's a good topic. So I went and I found 10 paranormal stories from Scotland.
Yay!
So I'm going to apologize ahead of time as I butcher every single one of these places.
I literally have been doing research on this, and it made me very sad. Because I was like looking through things and online, and I'm like, I don't know when I'm ever going to get back there. Oh, I'm very sad now. So I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight.
Oh,
so then I'll get those dreams analyzed.
And they're going to say, run away with the big bunny.
Oh, goodness gracious. Anyway, yeah, no, if I literally, that would be the place that I would go. If somebody said to pick place, that's where I'd go in a heartbeat. I have no idea. I can't explain why everybody says that. I said, I can't explain it.
Kilts.
I was there. It felt like, what's that?
Kilts.
I could, kilts and rugby players. I could say that.
But there are kilts and rugby players here.
I said, no, but they don't have that Scottish accent.
Nobody can understand that Scottish accent.
I don't care. I don't need to understand them, do I?
I just need to nod in that general direction.
Yes. Oh, goodness gracious. But, we are talking about one of the most haunted countries in the world. So there's plenty of ghost stories to go. We could do show after show after show for this.
We could, but I started out with this list of 10 strange paranormal stories that came from I'm totally spacing The Guardian, and then I kind of clicked through a bunch of link holes, and I ended up with these 10. So this is what we're going to go with, and then we can build and expand upon them.
Okay.
I do not have a Scottish accent. I can't even think to do a Scottish accent. So
neither can I. It's very yeah. I just will listen to anyone who speaks with that accent and just be like drooling.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one is the spirit of Lady Catherine. So there is a hotel called the Dollhouse Castle Hotel. It's Dalhousie, so it might be Dollhousey. I'm not sure.
I just it reminds me of the word dollhouse.
It does look like dollhouse. So I'm going to go with Dollhouse Castle, even though I probably butchered that one. So right now it's a hotel and a spa, but it is an old castle that was built in 1695. And it's said that a 16-year-old noblewoman named Lady Catherine was banished to the tower after getting caught having sexual relations with a stable hand.
Ooh!
The poor lovelorn Catherine died in her tower, and it's said that her spirit has never left the castle, even when it became a hotel in 1972. Lady Catherine's ghost is a fairly active spirit in which she's been seen multiple times. And it's said that the spirit attends weddings that are being held at the site, and that, it's a popular local destination for weddings and things, and she likes to pop in and attend the parties. She's also been seen walking the turrets and the corridors, and sometimes appears in guest rooms. She likes to wave at people coming and going from a window, or you might find her sitting just squat in the middle of your bed.
Hey! According
to eyewitnesses, she's wearing a gray dress, has very sharp features and small feet. And when you see her, you could take it that she is possibly alive. But she's also been known to walk through walls and doors. So not so much alive there. In 2007, American writer Kate Bollock visited the castle to learn about Catherine, who has picked up the moniker of the Gray Lady. Usually it's a white lady, but this one's gray.
This one's gray.
Or Lady in White, sorry. And she was unsuccessful on kind of figuring out where Catherine came from, but she does learn that Catherine does not like bagpipes. Whenever the castle's steward tries to play his instrument and Catherine is around, the steward is unable to play his bagpipes properly.
That seems so bizarre that she doesn't like that sound.
Well, maybe it's because she, bagpipes are generally a symbol of, either somebody's in a lot of trouble or someone's very happy. So they might have played it like her. I don't know.
Interesting. Never been there, but it is a spa, so put it on the list.
I know. Seriously, that's worth a ghost hunt right there, just so I can go to the spa.
Oh, my goodness.
So the next one on our list is a ghost of Stirling. But wait, before we jump to that one. So this one's the Gray Lady. So we talk about the Lady in White all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we, okay. So when you talk about a male spirit, it's always, the man in black, right? Or then he gets, he's a Civil War soldier. He's a old-timey cowboy. He's a this, that. He gets defined. When you talk about a woman spirit, it's always the woman in white. or the gray lady. Or
Yeah, they give it a color, whatever color it's wearing, and then.
How come it's not like old-timey cowboy woman? Like, where are they? Where are the old-timey cowboy women ghosts?
Somewhere along the line, it became okay. I guess with ghost stories as they went on, it was always the gray lady, the white lady, the lady in white, and that's
like,
creeps people out. I don't know why.
They're just the gray lady, the white lady, and they always float down the stairs. They never walk down the stairs. They always float down the stairs. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should start just giving people names. Find out what their names are. Don't we have all these devices to find that out?
We do. So I think you and I need to make a trip to every single gray lady, white lady, whatever, and get them all names. And
sounds like a plan.
However long it takes, we will commit ourselves to this endeavor of road tripping.
All right, we need to find financing.
I feel like these places should pay us for our services.
I'm on it. I'm all for it.
All right, done. All right, moving on. Ghosts of Stirling Castle. So Stirling Castle is a well-known castle that sits high on a little bluff, and they have two ghosts. The first one is the Pink Lady. Sorry. She got her nickname because of the luxurious pink dress that she is claimed to wear, and she's rumored to be none other than Mary Queen of Scots, who was crowned at Stirling Castle. But according to another story, she may be the wife of a soldier who fell when Edward I and his troops besieged the castle in the early 14th century. And they believe that she would be wandering the castle searching for her husband. The Pink Lady tends to spend her time wandering around the castle and the surrounding gardens. So there's her, who may be Mary Queen of Scots or maybe some random soldier's wife.
Okay.
Helpful.
And the second ghost is
the Green Lady, or the Gray Lady, depending on which version of the story you read. The popular story says that she's the spirit of a serving girl who saved young Queen Mary from fire, possibly dying herself when doing so. Whenever she appears, a major disaster is sure to follow. Although this may seem ominous, the Gray Lady, or Green Lady, is actually trying to warn people of danger, attempting to save them like she supposedly saved her queen so many years ago. But the ghosts at Stirling Castles are all benevolent. Are not all benevolent. There's actually rumors that a third spirit haunts the space. It's unseen footsteps in an area known as the Governor's Block. And supposedly a 19th century. Yeah, try saying that a lot. Died in the middle of his patrol, his face twisted in terror. So did the poor guard see the ghost, or is he the ghost? We don't know. So Stirling Castle has a large menagerie of spirits to discuss here.
A menagerie.
Menagerie. I can say it, but I can't spell it. So again, we have our Pink Lady and our Green or Gray Lady, depending on. See, that's that darn Scottish accent. You can't tell the difference.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's the Gert Lady. Like the which one? The Gert. Okay.
All right.
Do you ever try to read a text from a Scottish person or a tweet from a Scottish person?
No.
There's an entire website of Scottish tweets.
Oh my gosh.
And they are written in English.
Yeah, I bet you they are.
They're written in something anyway.
They're written in some language.
Not to offend any of our Scottish listeners, but dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do have a, especially in the Highlands. We couldn't understand what half of them were saying.
So Stirling Castle here, like I said. So again, we've got all these women who are defined by their color again. But Mary Queen of Scots. Okay, so she's a fairly infamous figure on her own. Are you familiar with who she is?
Mary Queen of Scots, yes.
Okay. So if you're not truly familiar with who she is, please do not watch that terrible TV show that was on whatever that teenage network is recently, because that is not even remotely accurate. But she was the Queen of Scotland. I like that? Of Scotland, who then went off to marry her cousin, the King of France, while her mother and her half-brother ruled in her place. And then when her mother passed away, and her husband died, she came back to Scotland. And then she kept trying to challenge Elizabeth I for the English throne for a while, and then it's kind of a lot of political back and forth between the two of them until finally she got imprisoned for 20 years in England before she died. So
there's got a lot of great documentaries on her and her relationship with Elizabeth I.
It is fascinating. I just listened to so if you've never listened to the podcast called Stuff You Missed in History Class, it is phenomenal. And they did a Mary Queen of Scots and Elizabeth I podcast that I just listened to, but it's from a number of years ago. So I was kind of going through their archive, pulling out some of the older stuff that I hadn't listened to recently. And they do a phenomenal podcast. So, it's really is a fascinating timeline of her life. If you think about all the things that she went through. But the reason I mentioned that is that, of all the places she probably was, I'm thinking the place where she was crowned is probably not going to be the most dramatic in her life. That's where she's going to end up. She's also rumored to wander around the Tower of London for where she was in prison there for 20 years. Or actually, I think she was in prison there for 3 years and then got moved somewhere else. But still, she supposedly wanders around the Tower of London. I could see that, okay? She spent a large period of her time literally spending every day pleading for her life from her cousin and not knowing whether or not today was the day she was going to get executed. So that I could understand. The castle in France where her husband died, maybe that was a little more dramatic than this place where she got crowned.
Well, do you think that maybe could be seen at many places? Because some things are not necessarily like intelligent hauntings. It could be like that tape going over and over and over.
Haunting?
What's that?
A residual?
Thank you. I couldn't. My brain is hurting today. And it's just we just every once in a while somebody sees it and it's not something that it's communicating with you. You just see it, and then. She might be in another place where she was happier, and that's actually an intelligent, haunting. You never know.
I mean, it's possible, but then, is that person, if it's a residual haunting, that brings up a very interesting concept, and I want to poke that for a second. So, if a residual haunting, like we say, is just a tape playing over and over again, then is that person truly haunting that location? Or is it just spirit energy? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, a residual haunting, it seems weird to call it a haunting because it's not. I mean, the only way it would be a haunting is if somebody is terrified of it. If somebody doesn't understand it, yeah, it would be haunting them because they think it's there. They don't realize that it's not something that you can interact with or not interact with. So, in that sense, yes, it could be a haunting, but in a sense where somebody understands it better, you just be like, oh no, that's just spiritual energy, I guess.
I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about because, so George Washington and Abraham Lincoln are the two spirits in the United States that are most prolific. They're everywhere. Everyone claims to have George Washington or Abraham Lincoln somewhere in their house or in their town, in their neighborhood,
or they slept here or slept there. Yeah.
So I always wonder that at times. It's like, well, if they're really all over, is it like a wizard picture from Harry Potter where he stays for 5 minutes and then he jumps to the next one? Or are they actually, was their consciousness split? Do they end up in these 6 different places because of, was their consciousness? I don't know. It's a very deep thought for this late at night.
Oh, it is a deep thought, but I think this is one of the reasons that we do have paranormal investigators who want to do all these investigations because they want to find more about the afterlife. But at some point, I think you're not going to find out any more about the afterlife. You're going to get what you need to know, not what you want to know.
Exactly. And Kat in the chat room says it could be emotional energy, extreme emotions projected out into the ether.
Yes, true.
Did you just launch into space over there?
Oh my gosh. I have my windows open because I thought it would be nice to get some fresh air in here, and it's like freaking ridiculous.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the next one.
Oh, okay.
Because that deep thought is going to take me a long time to process. But the next one's called The Hostile Spirits of the Blair Street Vaults.
Oh, one of my favorite places I went to.
You've been to this one, yeah?
Actually been here.
It's in Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
It's spelled Edinburgh, but anyway, Edinburgh. And they're called the Old Vaults or the Blair Street Vaults, depending on where you're reading it, supposedly.
Well, the tour company refers to it as the Blair Street Underground Vaults.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Good job, tour company. Way to go. So supposedly murderous grave robbers Burke and Hare, stored their victims there. Does that mean they stole the bodies and ducked the bodies down there?
Yeah, there was a lot of the one way to earn money in Edinburgh was to sell bodies to the medical college. So they would rob the graves to go give the bodies and get money for them. So eventually they had to put the graves ended up having bars on them and stuff so that they couldn't be robbed.
Interesting. All right. So down in these vaults, they say that the most common way these spirits pop up is through photographs. And then other, kind of touch and feel, less noise and visual stuff, but more, as I say, sensual. Yeah, I guess sensual would be the right word. So supposedly the most harmless ghost down there is Jack, who's a joker, likes to tug at people's pants, throw stones across the chambers, causing funky echoes. I'm sorry, but when you're in an underground vault, echoes in the chamber doesn't necessarily mean ghost.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes it just means crap fell out of the ceiling. But anyway, not that I'm belittling and or discrediting Jack. Please don't hurt me, Jack. Some other spirits. There's one known as Mr. Boots. He's a mysterious, heavy footstep sound that can be heard in the empty vault. And the truly frightening one is called the Watcher. The Watcher lurks in the tunnels. People have reported feeling dread in its presence. And he just likes to watch people. But he might push people, pull hair. Most strongest in an area called the White Room. He says that Watcher will try and stop people from entering by shouting at them, by pushing them. And people who've stepped into the White Room have returned with bruises, scratches, and torn clothing and extreme nausea. He just sounds cranky.
Well, according to my sources, which is the book from the tour, the White Room is the most active room, and that is where Mr. Boots is. He is actually they believe he was a body snatcher who stored the goods in the White Room and doesn't like people in there. That's why when people go in there, he makes them feel dread. He hurts them. People can feel the smell of whiskey, like being breathed on them. Or they feel like they're choked. He is not nice at all. But I have to say that, wait a minute, where's that one? The Jack or James is actually, they say that it's a child that's down there. And the reason I went with that was because I think children of poor people would go down there because eventually they use those vaults as just places to go when the poor didn't have anywhere to go. And the reason I also agree with that is because when I was there, I felt a child standing behind me in certain rooms, like I was protecting them, like they went behind me to hide. And I'd feel them clutching onto my clothes, and I could feel the cold air on my leg. But only one leg, not both legs, just one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Kat in the chat room again chimed in. She said, "My cadavers, get your own elsewhere." Well, that's spend your time, digging somebody out and dragging the body somewhere. Then I'd be kind of protective too. Be like, no, my space, mine.
Well, I mean, families would come in there, and they come to the cemetery, and their family's member's body would be gone.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
That was like a big. I don't want to say industry, but that was a big moneymaker for criminals. Get your hands off my cadavers. Oh, my gosh.
All right. Well, on that note, and I'm going to go find me a cadaver. And in the meantime, we're going to take a real quick break because we hit the halfway point of the show. You're listening to the Shadows Radio here on the Para X Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Gillo from Ghost Adventures, and you're listening to Parax Radio.
Hi, this is Hollywood Hunt Rider Marla Brooks, and you're listening to the Parax Radio Network.
Parabot, 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 Parabot.
Welcome back to the Shadows Radio here on the Parax Radio Network. I'm still Rebecca.
I'm still Cara.
And we are still talking about the ghosts of Scotland.
Ooh. I can't do that with a Scottish accent, so it's the best I can do.
What does a Scottish accent ghost sound like?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying, but it didn't work. Anyway.
Whiskey. Oh, sorry. No.
Oh, goodness, we're horrible people.
Do they call Scotch in Scotland? Do they just call it Scotch, or do they call it Scotch? Like, do they call it whiskey?
Scotch whiskey.
Oh, that's too many words. I'm sorry, but if you're ordering a drink and you go, I like some Scotch whiskey, please, that's too much words. Like,
I mean, I get it's also depending on the brand too, because there was different brands. So I guess you could always ask her by the brand. I don't know. I didn't drink, so I just went to a whiskey distillery, which it stunk.
But you went to a whiskey distillery and you don't drink?
And I don't drink. Yeah, but it was part of the tour. Oh. But I thought, well, Scotch whiskey, I got to know. So
that's important. Okay, so more ghosts, because there is no ghost at the whiskey factory.
No, there was no ghost except for the ghost of, I don't know.
All the drinking I've done in the past.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one on our list is Glencoe. So the massacre at Glencoe happened in 1692, and it was a brutal attack where soldiers loyal to the English crown visited the MacDonald clan, and initially they befriended their host, but then suddenly they got a surprise order that said, kill the clan. And so the soldiers ambushed the sleeping MacDonalds during a blizzard, killing 38 of them. Many more of them died of exposure as they fled the soldiers into the hills. And supposedly the really pissed off McDonald's never went away, because I would say if I got murdered in my sleep in the middle of a blizzard, I'd probably not leave either.
Right.
So Glencoe area is generally agreed that the spirits of the victims are still lingering in and around the castle, unable to move on because of their unexpected demise. And it says the best time to see them is in winter, obviously, because that's when the massacre happened, right in or around February 13th, or on or around February 13th. People have reported ghostly figures crouching in the hills, desperately trying to hide from soldiers. Others say they've heard screams and wails as the McDonalds are killed yearly again and again. Others claim they've actually seen the massacre being reenacted in ghost form.
Wow, that would be terrifying. Good Lord.
Yes. So legend has it also that the McDonald's invisible banshee-like entity that warns of danger with its blood-curdling cries is also at Glencoe. Legend has it that the screams of this creature warned the McDonald's of the impending doom, so many of them were able to escape the swords. However, they all died of exposure, so I don't know how effective this thing really was. So supposedly you can hear that one wailing by the waterfall on the anniversary of the massacre. So it sounds like there's a lot of wailing and death happening over and over. But that one to me sounds like a residual. I would think if it sounds like you go in and around the anniversary of the massacre and, they're seeing people relive the massacre, then I'm saying that's probably residual.
Yeah, that's what it would sound like to me. That it's not something, you come across at any time. If it's the same time every year, then book your rooms now.
Yes, exactly. And we know February 13th, so you just got to time it so you're in that area around that time.
Yep.
I always like when you talk about something like a massacre where a whole bunch of people died, you have to think of the kind of the emotional output that happened or the energies that got shot out at that point,
Oh, yeah, because, the adrenaline levels up and all the things. It had to have stuck there because, of all the stuff that's going on. You think that energy is just sitting there. And then just when it comes around the same time of year, it's sort of like blast out again.
I know, but I just think of the amount of the emotional output. It's like, how can you not have some kind of spirit activity when you've got that much, kind of bad karma flying around?
Yeah, you would think. Maybe they just kind of, because that happened there, they don't want to go back there.
No, that's true. No. Oh, and Speaks in the Parax chat room, not Speaks in the chat room, his name is Speaks, says that you always ask for scotch by the brand over there. So good to know. Thank you for that tip. When we do our road trip, we'll make sure to ask by the brand. So the next one on our list is Rate Castle, R-A-I-T, Rate Castle. Mm-hmm. It's a 13th century house that was equipped with castle towers during the 16th and 17th century. Could you imagine just adding a tower? What are you doing? I'm just adding a tower to my house because it wasn't good enough just to be a house. It has to have now towers. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Although only the ruins remain, many strange architectural features make it an interesting structure. Its history is equally fascinating as the story behind its spirits. The Cummings, the most long-term occupant of Rate Castle, had begun feuding with the Macintoshes over ownership of the castle for centuries. In 1441, the Cummings decided it was time to stop fighting. So Clan Cumming invited Clan Macintosh to the castle for a huge feast as an offer of peace. I feel like this is going to turn bad. The clan leader of the Cummings had a young daughter who struck up a relationship with one of the young Macintosh men. It looked like there might be a chance for peace between the clans via marriage. The invitation was, of course, as we detected, a clever plot to wine and dine the Macintoshes and then murder them while they were drunk.
Okay, then.
Unfortunately for the Cummings, however, the young daughter who fell in love with the Macintosh man was worried about his safety and warned them of the plot. So they came to dinner with daggers hidden in their clothing. When the Cummings started their ambush during a toast for the dead, the Macintoshes pulled out their dirks, which are a type of dagger, and quickly stabbed their hosts instead. The Laird Cumming escaped the bloodshed and ran to the upper chambers to confront his daughter, who he had, I guess, realized had sold them out. And the furious clan chief attacked the young lady with a sword, cutting off both of her hands before she could escape by jumping out the window. After the slaughter, it turned out no one really wanted to own the castle that was bathed in so much blood, and the Rate Castle was left to ruin. And supposedly the young woman still wanders the castle, handless in a bloody dress.
See? Bloody dress.
Handless.
So
handless in a bloody dress. He chopped off her hands.
Okay, yeah, but is she called the Bloody Lady now?
She's not. She's just called the Wraith of Rate Castle.
Good grief, Charlie Brown.
Wouldn't she be the Red Lady, though? Because, I mean...
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Bloody Lady, Red Lady, whatever you want to go with.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of, hey, come to dinner so we can stab you. Like, there's a lot of that in these stories.
Well, yeah, a lot of that was happening back then. It was, it was a different time. We don't do that anymore. We don't invite you over to stab you.
There's a little less, yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just laughing.
I know. Some of the stuff you're like, oh my God, because you watch, like we were just talking about Outlander, and you think about all these romantic things, and you're like, oh my God, the things that we don't realize that they were probably terrified. Like any day, somebody could come in and just take your whole castle and
there's a whole party of stabbing, and if it wasn't that, you were gonna die of the plague. And if it wasn't the plague, you were gonna, starve to death. There's too many ways to die in the olden times.
Yeah, it was,
I'm perfectly happy to live in the era of obesity. Is that a terrible thing to say? That's a terrible thing to say, but it's true.
It's true. because, back then you had to work for everything. So everybody was, fit. They, had farming and all that kind of stuff, and they ate good food. Now we have, preservatives. Oh, goodness gracious. Whew, I think the heat's getting to me. It's getting humid in here.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are still feuding clans of varying kinds, not necessarily Scottish clans, but just in general. There are still people who are, think of like mafia families.
Oh, gosh, yeah. You think the Campbells go to Scotland and are, warmly recepted everywhere?
You mean received?
Received, recepted, whatever is the words I'm looking. The heat's getting to me, you can tell. Whew. Wherever they go? No.
Well, maybe if they bring their soup with them.
They bring cans of soup.
Yes, if they bring cans of soup, they will be warmly received in Scotland.
Oh, my gosh. We have gone off the rails. Thank God it's getting...
The people of Scotland are sleeping. They're totally not, because there are actually people listening to us. I'm looking at the...
Oh, believe me, we are not making... we could be talking about any country, any city, and we would be going off the rails right now.
I know, but shout out to the guy from Australia, or woman from Australia who's listening to us, and the awesome one from the United Kingdom who's also listening. I would like to believe that the United Kingdom one knows something about Scotland and is probably sitting there shaking their head going, you idiots.
We're not idiots. We just haven't been to Scotland enough times.
I've actually never been to Scotland. All the countries I've been to, I've never been to Scotland.
Well, I was supposed to go again this past year, and actually do a cross-country camping trip through Scotland.
That sounds cold.
That sounds cold. Well, it was going to be in like May or whatever. I mean, I don't mind cold, so that doesn't bother me. But, things happened. Life got in the way, and that didn't turn out. So that's why I was kind of reading all this stuff about Scotland and just like, I need financing for another trip.
I was supposed to go to Egypt, and then I had a baby instead.
Oh, well,
Damn kids. Anyway, all right.
They said, have kids, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
They lied. No, just kidding. I love my daughter. And it's her birthday. Happy 3rd birthday. Anyway, She's not listening. She's asleep.
Well, at least it's you putting it out in the universe.
I am. I'm throwing it out there for posterity. So 20 years from now, when she listens to this and realizes how much I shouldn't have been talking about her, then, yeah. Anyway, so next on our list is the Moors of Culloden. And if you are a fan of the TV show Outlander, then the name Culloden should sound super familiar to you, as it was the crux of most of the first and second season. So just to throw that out there. So a few miles from Inverness is the Moors of Culloden. It's the site of the last major battle fought on British soil in 1746. The bloody conflict was between the Scottish Jacobites and the much larger forces of the English crown, led by the Duke of Cumberland. The marshy battleground did not favor the Jacobites because they had a strategy of literally just charging headfirst into the enemy. Let's just bowl them over and see what happens. The English, however, had a more organized set of troops. They had the artillery, cavalry, and they basically just steamrolled right over the Scottish clans. And that the Battle of Culloden kind of ended it was effectively the end of like the clan system in Scotland. So anything after that point was kind of more tradition rather than actual way of life kind of thing. You no longer went to your laird for everything. You actually had to resort to the government kind of thing. You know what I mean? So with this bloody and dramatic history, you cannot be surprised that there are ghosts here on Culloden. Reports of mysterious cold spots where Jacobites fell in large numbers. Supposedly the Culloden drinking well, which is also called St. Mary's Well, the water screams with the voices of the restless dead and tastes bitter like the tears of an angel.
Oh.
Which just sounds gross. Like, I don't even want to go there. But particularly around the anniversary of the battle is the best time to see spirit. During that time, people say they've seen marching Highlanders, strange corpses appearing, so it looks like they see a dead body in the grass. They walk over there and there's nothing there. A lot of people say they've seen grass depress. meaning they're standing there and it looks like some, like, you know, how you fall in the grass and you stand up and there's like still the body shape sometimes in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
So people have reported seeing that, or it looks like somebody fell next to them and the grass goes down in a body shape. They've reported seeing bleeding men stumbling across the field, and then, you know, when they go to help them or look for them, they're gone. They witnessed the entire battle being played out. The air fills with screams, the sounds of fighting. A tall, lonely, dejected figure wanders the moor aimlessly, whispering, "Defeated, defeated," over and over again. So there's quite a few spirits that kind of surround this moor and this field, you know, because it is such a dramatic place, and there is such a turning point. It's pretty much the end of a singular culture. It's a dramatic military battle. So there's a lot going on in this field. So I can imagine that would stir up a lot of paranormal activity. But I don't know how terrifying that would be to be standing there in a field going, okay, this is the Moor of Culloden, or Culloden Moor, and then just see like a body shape hit the ground next to you. Like, ooh, whoops. Like, what happens if you were standing in that spot? Would you get hit with the body?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I mean, did they fall next to you because you're standing there, or did they fall next to you because?
I don't know. Why would they fall next to you? Couldn't they just fall through you?
I guess, yeah. Oh, that'd be even creepy if you're standing there and the depression just happens next to you. So, Kat asked how many of the depressions were from deers not noticed, you know, until you got next to them. So, Kat, I guess I'm not explaining this properly, but basically, the depressions are kind of appearing as the people are standing there. So, like, the grass is normal, and then there's a body shape, like somebody fell. It's not necessarily that they're walking up and there's body shapes in the grass. Does that make sense, I guess? Am I explaining that better?
Yeah.
Sometimes when one does research and starts paraphrasing, sometimes the descriptions don't always work out. So I mean, but still, I think that would be kind of freaky for me if I'm saying, then all of a sudden it's just like, body shape.
Yeah, but you know what? Something like that I probably wouldn't even notice.
On the ground, but I don't know if I mean, I don't know, or see like a body laying on the ground and start walking towards it and then the thing's gone. Like, that'd be kind of terrifying too.
That would be terrifying. Like, oh my God, where'd it go? Bring me back my cadavers.
Get your own. I'm stealing that line.
Can we definitely talk about the additional story they put on here?
Sure.
Because I actually tried to apply for this job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we get that one, let's do the last one on the list, and then we'll go back.
Okay.
All right. So the Phantom Pit Plagues. Let me try that again. So Mary King's Close in Edinburgh had a lot of people die. It's a partially walled up claustrophobic alley below the city chamber that used to be a place where the city's poor lived and where the bubonic plague arrived in the 17th century. As the city grew, the upper levels of the close were demolished, leaving only the creepy, narrow basement level that you can still visit. So you've actually been here.
Yes, I went into Mary King's Close. You can't take pictures inside. You just get to walk around and they give you the tour. They say that actually this particular part of the close has been haunted for over 300 years. Even before, like, there are stories in the 1600s of entities and tales of supernatural and people writing stories about their experiences in the 1600s.
Wow.
Yeah, so I dug out my souvenir book again. Because sometimes this is where you get the good stuff. But there's, I mean, I was reading this all today, and I was like, when you dive into this and just paranormal ghost stories, you get into the history and you get into all this stuff. I mean, I literally sat here for hours reading because it was just never ending. And when you get into talking about Scotland and England, and you're talking centuries of stories. And but I didn't have any experiences in this particular place.
So is it really as claustrophobic as they're saying it is? Like,
it's what it is it's basically the streets inside, because when Edinburgh became so populated, they went up. They didn't go out. They went up. So literally you had like 20-story tall buildings.
Mm.
And then when the new town started, when they wanted to make New Edinburgh, and like, because they have the old part of town and the new part of town, some of these closed off, especially to keep the poor people away from the wealthy people and stuff like that. And then especially when the plague came around, they had this closed off. And then they also destroyed some because they had to put the Royal Exchange on the Royal Mile. But anyway, Mary Kane's Close they put it together, and they have a lot of, artifacts and, the plague mask. They have them in there to show. Yeah, to show, that was one of the things. They say that there's things, you can hear babies crying and stuff because literally it was people just passing away right there holding their children, stuff like that. Like I said, I didn't have any experiences there. I don't know if it was because it actually seemed a little bit more modern to me than I expected because they have it for tours.
Yeah.
Like the vaults, it was like when you go into a casemate at Fort Mifflin,
mm-hmm.
That's what the vaults are like. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But this seemed to be more spruced up to me.
So it was for the picture that I'm looking at, they have like little mannequins in some of the rooms and things.
Yes.
They have it kind of set up like a museum rather than.
Yeah. So it had that museum feel to me.
Sometimes I feel like that detracts from the paranormal activity because you get so distracted by the display that you're not looking for any kind of scare.
Exactly. And I was listening to the tour guide to understand what happened there because it's just very interesting how, when they said, you think, Americans came up with skyscrapers. No, we were doing in Edinburgh in the 1700s, like stuff like that. It was like, I was so intrigued at what they were saying that, a ghost could have been standing behind me, tapping me on the shoulder and I wouldn't have known. But yeah, I mean, a very unique place, a lot of history, and it's definitely known, of all the people that died with the plague. But I mean, they have one section where it's, it just looks like a street. Cause you know how if you go in a street in a city somewhere and they have laundry, you would have laundry hanging in between the alleys. That's basically what it looked like.
Oh, okay. So that seems like pretty much a tight corridor.
Yeah. And and a close basically that's what it is an alleyway. And they usually have a gate at one end and a gate at the other end.
To trap all them plague victims in.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 2 minutes. So real quickly, do your last story real quick.
Oh, I just wanted to say in 2017, there was a family posted a job on childcare.com looking for an exceptional live-in nanny. They were willing to pay £50,000 a year for somebody to come stay with their children in the Highlands at a scenic historical property because these were very professionals. They were gone like 4 nights a week. But the place was haunted and the previous 5 nannies left.
Huh.
So I tried to apply. I couldn't get through because I didn't have the correct address. Eventually they had thousands of people apply and they did find somebody to fill the job. But it's literally like poltergeist activity, a lot of activity going on. They don't have any intention to move.
Are we sure it's not the kids that are these little terrors?
Yeah, it's funny because I wonder. It's funny because they never said anything about them wanting to move, the kids being scared, nothing like that. They just wanted to make sure. So I mean, they could be totally fine with it. I have no idea, but they just wanted to make sure that they knew. The nanny coming in knew that the place was haunted.
That's pretty funny. And I just did the math real quick. So $50,000 or £50,000 a year is almost $66,000. And like if I converted it today, that's a lot of money for a nanny position.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
a live-in nanny. Yeah,
and a live-in nanny, and you'd be in Scotland. Hello, God, that was like the dream job. Actually, and I do have to tell you this before we go. There's actually in Scotland, you can book for a week to own a Scottish bookshop and live in the bookshop. We need to do that.
And so why don't we do that?
Isn't that amazing? That's your vacation. It's like an Airbnb. You stay in the bookshop and you run the bookshop for a week.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
We got to do that.
We definitely do.
Anyway.
All right, so you're going to get your Haunted Nanny gig, and then we're going to go run a bookshop in Scotland, and then we're going to go dance on the moors of Culloden and hope for ghosts or something.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
I like this plan. Okay, so we are down to the end of our show. Once again, thank you to everybody who came out to Fort Mifflin this weekend. The event was excellent. Everybody, all the authors who came out and participated, it was an incredible event. On behalf of Fort Mifflin and myself, I would like to just say thank you to everyone because, like I said, awesomeness.
It's awesomeness.
All right. And I'm Rebecca.
I'm Cara.
And we'll see you in the shadows.